All right, let's turn our attention to Saturday night as Ole Miss will be going to play LSU. You may remember that when these two teams played in Oxford, the final score was 55-49. They combined for more than 1,300 yards of total offense. And while Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors are off to the NFL, well, Garrett Nussmeier is still the number 5 player in the country in terms of passing yards per game. He's currently leading the SEC with 15 passing touchdowns. So maybe we're going to be set for something similar here. Bud, which part? Obviously, Trey Harris, as we mentioned at the top of the show, probably pretty significant. What part of this matchup stands out to you the most?
Ole Miss's defense has been really good.
Yeah.
So far this season.
Up front, especially.
The best offense they've faced has been Wake Forest.
It's a fun game to play, isn't it?
Kentucky at times, I guess, but like it's not like Kentucky ran Ohio out of the building or like they certainly melted down against South Carolina. Although,
yeah, how about this? In terms of scheme and coaching, Wake Forest. In terms of bodies, Kentucky.
Probably, yeah. That's probably a good way to put that. And you got Kentucky at home, so I am curious, like how I'm confident this Ole Miss defense is good and better than it was. How much better is it? Like, is it hold LSU to something in the 30s, or like can LSU get into the 40s here? And if so, how much better does LSU's defense look? Like if they're going to make a jump, I'm kind of convinced this is the game to show the jump has been made. You just came off a bye week, and prior to that, you just played a not an FCS team, but a G5 team in South Alabama.
That is Tom's South Alabama Jags, potential Sun Belt champions.
Come on. That loss at Arkansas State just
tough. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just really excited to watch the Ole Miss defensive front against the LSU offensive line, because I think that's a lot of NFL kind of players going back and forth at one another, and it should be pretty decent. Because, like, obviously we know about Walter Nolan was the big get in the transfer portal. He doesn't have like eye-popping stats, but if you actually just kind of watch what he's doing, it's like, oh, okay, no, he's pretty damn good. And Princely Uman is playing very well. Jared Ivey's playing very well for them up front. I just think that is a very deep, and it's been a very effective unit. It's just, again, like we were just going over, you're playing Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky, and South Carolina so far at this point. I just don't know. So you haven't faced anything like you're going to be going up against with this LSU offensive line. You haven't faced anything like you're going up against with this quarterback, who I think is miles ahead of any quarterback that you have faced so far this season. So we're going to find out a whole hell of a lot more about everybody on every level of that defense. And I just think that it's an interesting situation overall, because, like, I think obviously Ole Miss losing to Kentucky kind of throws things off of whack, but you're still in a situation where even after that loss, which, by the way, it was at home, you're favored on the road against LSU. And it's like coming into Death Valley as a favorite to me. Just, I get why, but there's still that part of me that's like, that typically doesn't work out very well for teams. But when you look at the LSU defense, we're so focused on the secondary, which is, yeah. But I do think up front, they've actually been pretty solid this year. Like, they do a very good job of getting pressure on teams. It's just their secondary can't cover anybody. So if they're facing a QB who's able to at least withstand that pressure and get rid of the ball, they're giving up big chunk plays time and time again, and it's killing them. So Trey Harris's injury, as we talked about, that's going to be a huge factor here. But I just think Ole Miss has plenty of weapons in the passing game, and I think Jackson Dart has been phenomenal this season, outside of that Kentucky game where I thought he wasn't bad, but he wasn't his typical brilliant self. So we've seen him under pressure play well. If LSU gets pressure on them, Ole Miss is the kind of team that could get those chunk plays on you if your guys aren't covering them or just making mistakes. Like, Lane Kiffin offenses have a great way, or they have a great history of making defensive backs look stupid and putting them in bad situations and making them blow coverages, et cetera, whatever you want to call it. That is a scary thing for me if I'm LSU. So I feel like I can't just get pressure. I need to get home. And I need to force some turnovers here, because offensively, I don't know if you want to get stuck in a shootout, because even though I really think you have a tremendous quarterback and tremendous weapons on offense, if I'm relying on either one of these defenses to actually end up getting a stop, even if they haven't faced anybody yet, I still have more confidence in Ole Miss being able to do it.
So I don't know that Princely's playing. He missed the South
he
Carolina
out?
game. Well, he missed South Carolina game. Chat thinks he's out for this game, but I don't think that's official. I think I said this on the Saturday Night Show. Dart did not look right to me
Oh
against
yeah,
South
that's
Carolina.
right.
Like I'm not saying he's hurt, but something was going on, in my opinion.
He got
And
shot.
like just some of the deep balls were not good. This is fair. Oh my god!
Did you see him quoting Young Dolph and on
No.
Twitter? He retweeted he retweeted a screenshot of Dylan Stewart like standing over him with a shotgun, and I can't. It's something like took 100 shots and still couldn't hit, something like that.
I think it's a pretty it's a really big game for Ole Miss. It's a really big game for LSU too. Like if you don't win this coming off a bye, just coming off the run up, and has Ole Miss had a bye yet?
So
they have not, right?
I was
no, this is their 7th game. They're on
that's
the bye
a weird
next week.
matchup. Like for a very rested team playing at home against a team that's probably not rested. That's you're going to give them like the full 3 for home field there in Death Valley, but like you probably are also going to give them, I don't know, maybe an extra point or something for like attrition.
Second straight home game. I mean, excuse me, second straight road game, 7th game in a row. I mean, I understand why Lane Kiffin put his foot off the gas in the second half of that game. I mean, you just needed to get out of there and stay as healthy as possible heading into this one against LSU. Going back to the question about, the offenses that have been played, what about the passing attacks that Ole Miss's secondary has been challenged by? This will be their greatest challenge.
No doubt. No doubt.
By a lot.
All right. You ready for anything else matchup wise before we go into the straight vibes corner on this matchup?
Oh, we should get like some kind of graphic or soundboard for the vibes corner.
I really don't know if we're going to have
it should be a recurring segment.
Since Nick Saban arrived in Baton Rouge in 2000, there have been 123 games at night in Tiger Stadium. LSU is 108-15 in those games.
Damn.
That includes being a perfect 12-0 under Brian Kelly in night games at Tiger Stadium. Brian Kelly as a whole, any opponent, any kickoff time, 16-1 in Tiger Stadium.